It seems as if Hollywood doesn't know how to treat its legacy characters. Franchise after franchise has been desecrated by the unholy abomination that Hollywood has now become. More often than not, when a new spin off or reboot is announced, it is met with a hefty amount of concern, and for very good reason. Such is the case for the recent HBO adaptation of The Last of Us. After the complete debacle that was The Last of Us Part 2 and what Neil Druckmann did with that, it was only natural that everybody was hesitant when this newest adaptation was announced, and that it would be headed by Druckmann. But is it as bad as everyone expected? Is this the failure to top them all? Before I get into it, I want to just state that I've never played the original game. I am aware of the plot and story and the world, as well as the drama surrounding The Last of Us Part 2, obviously. But unfortunately, due to this, I won't be able to do a direct comparison of this to the game, so I'll just be judging this on its own merits. And with that in mind, let's get it going. So far, I've been impressed. The characters, world building, and tone of the story have all been very well done. Starting with Joel. His character so far has been really good. Again, it's hard for me to compare him to his game counterpart, but as a standalone character, he is really good. It helps that he's complemented by an outstanding performance by Pedro Pascal. In the beginning, he's set up as this typical dad who's just skating through his everyday life. Now, I will say this beginning segment was kind of rubbing me the wrong way initially, as the daughter was kind of portrayed as this wonder girl who has to do everything for her dad. But it gets a pass because it's accurate to real life. Because, dads tend to not have that much energy, and kids tend to be super energetic and just full of life. And it also helps that Joel is a single dad, so that's another thing. But as things start to get out of hand, as the Cordyceps outbreak begins, he steps in as this protector. It's all done really accurately, as he's hesitant at times and frequently makes mistakes as one would do in a traumatic situation such as this. By the way, I have to give a shout out to how this beginning sequence was portrayed. Things are all hunky-dory in the beginning, but slowly things start to feel out of place. Like how this old lady behaves as Sarah is going through these DVDs. Things are allowed to naturally progress, and that lends to this extreme tenseness through the beginning. Going back to Joel, he's not portrayed as a buffoon in these sequences. He knows when it's time to fight and when to flee, but it's when he gets to these moral gray areas when he thinks him and his family are safe, but things only go south. And it only takes one critical mistake at the wrong time for everything to go sideways. And that's exactly what happens here. Sarah's death sequence is done extremely well. I would argue just as well as the original game. Again, I haven't played the original game, but I have seen that cutscene and it is deeply, deeply emotional. And this conveys that pretty damn well. And I have to give the creators a big thumbs up for that. You can feel the gravity of the emotions as Joel's world crumbles around him. Again, it's helped tremendously by a terrific performance by Pedro Pascal. This is what having a great actor who has gravitas can do for a role, Hollywood. Afterwards, we get into the bulk of the story. We skip 20 years into the future, where Joel now lives in this encampment in what was Boston. This place is controlled by this militaristic government trying to hold together what was civilization, but things are frequently interrupted by these constant attacks from a freedom-fighting militia called the Fireflies. In this encampment, Joel just kind of exists. He only does what is required of him to survive, and that's it. All except from one thing. In the beginning, he had his daughter Sarah, whom he lost. But he also had his brother, whom he had to break out of jail before the zombie apocalypse happened. Now, after the death of his daughter, his brother disappeared, and has never been seen up until now. He managed to find out where his brother is, and now he is determined to get back to him so he can repair that hole that was left from the death of his daughter. The problem is, he's got to go all the way out west to the Rocky Mountains, but he doesn't have a running truck. So he's got to find a way to get his truck up and running. Now, he had a guy lined up to get him a battery, but he found out that this guy's lying to him. So he's got to find another way now. And that leads him to an encounter with the Fireflies, who will give him all the supplies he needs to get to his brother, all in exchange for simply transporting this girl they had locked up to another encampment. Now, this girl, if you haven't guessed yet, is Ellie. She's cunning, she's witty, and she's a bit of a smartass. Due to the fact that she was born after the apocalypse, she has this trigger-happy nature to her that makes her a bit of a wild card in these situations. By the way, I just love how these little extra bits are thrown in. It not only helps to better define the world, but it also helps the characters that inhabit it. After that, he's really just tasked with doing that. He just gets going. And that's how episode 1 ends. Right now, I'm really loving what they are doing with the characters and the world building so far. Everything is well fleshed out and feels really believable. It's got this Walking Dead Season 1 feel to it. It's tremendously realistic, and you can just feel the stakes and the characters. You just have this emotional connection towards them. It's all helped out by tremendous acting from all the actors, especially Pedro Pascal, whom I just can't stop pouring affection towards. He does an excellent job here. Needless to say, this show has me hooked so far, to the point that I actually may invest in a PS4 and play the original game. But I'm looking forward to how this plays out. And that's my impression of it so far, guys. I want to know what your guys' impression are, so don't forget to hit me up in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.